came home to Houston real quick to grab some things. And then, tomorrow I'm headed to Philadelphia for another conference. And then after that, I'll be in Atlanta for meetings with some schools. So it's been crazy, but it's been good. I've been doing a ton of travel for most of my career when it comes to sales. And that's just an important part of the job, is really like pressing flesh and meeting people and, building that in-person rapport. And these conferences I could try to do 5 meetings in a day, or I can meet 50 people in a day at a conference. So
why are we here? Where are we?
We're in the Fearless office space, recording another episode of While Y'all Working, or rather recording previews for While Y'all Working and other episodes as well. We managed to meet a lot of cool people today. And, there's a lot of good resources going on in, the Future Makers Tech Brunch. Sorry, I can't read the TV backwards on the screen. But, there's a lot going on. We want to talk about, who's Jay's episode?
Yeah, Jay's episode, Jarrett's episode. We just like you said, we just recorded some new ones too. So we're really moving, man.
Yeah. And speaking of Jarrett's episode, I think Jarrett's episode was really this HRD and I, right? And, we talked a lot about AI, what's going on with the job sector, how people are going to be finding jobs in the future, or how people have found jobs today, what resources are available. So there's a lot of good content, available for the job seekers who, are in college or transitioning careers, for you guys to sink your teeth into and also understand. So, just be sure that you do your research, reach out to either Jarrett or us, to get us to get you connected to Jarrett. If you need any of his connections or resources, or just want his help and advice, he's more than willing to help out. As you see in the episode, very knowledgeable about what he has been doing for the past couple of years. Michael, you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, this has just been an awesome year so far of just like growth and progress. Lots changed for sure on like the macro level, but when you look internally, how are you improving yourself mentally, physically, professionally? Like, you're going to put yourself in a great position to stand out every single year. And that's really what Jarrett talked about, real skills, tangible skills to like make a way out of, these systematic layoffs and just a lot of change in dynamics and fluidity in the market. So every day you can wake up, get to a bag, get in the car at 9 a.m. on a Saturday and like put yourself out there as a way to make things happen. So find a way to put yourself out there and you're going to win, I promise.
Yeah. And we're, figuring out as we go, right? So you see us here, we're doing a thing. It may not be many of us watching right now, but like each view is a person. So when you think about it, just because you have 300 views or 180 views, think about 180 people being in a room. 180 people is a lot more than 180 views to you, what it seems like, because you're not seeing it actually, right? It's just there. It's out of thin air. But when you put it into perspective and you're in a room where people are actually listening to you speak, and after you've built a following and an audience, just think about that, right? Like, we're showing you the grassworks behind the scenes of what happens. We're doing it on our own, financing it on our own, and telling you and showing you through, the podcast and whatever else that we're doing today at Fearless and coming out in Baltimore, and just really showcasing what Baltimore has to offer and all the entrepreneurial and opportunities that are available to, our community and our listeners and followers, around. So we just want to make sure that we're setting an example, showing you guys how it is possible to do things that you want to do, because we are doing them ourselves. And, as long as you're scrappy, able to figure things out, stay hustling, you'll make it. You shouldn't have to worry about anything coming your way from that, as long as you stay focused.
For sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, y'all.
All right. Thanks.
Live stream in a minute.
Enjoy.
We're going to do it again.
Peace.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of While Y'all Working. I'm your co-host, Michael Ogusanya.
I'm Olaire J.
And we have the amazing Jarrett here with us today. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Hope everything's well. Excited for this conversation.
Likewise. So we got a lot to jump into, but let's start with the first question. Jarrett, why do you work?
I work because I enjoy making money. That's why I'm in sales. I'm kind of a coin-operated machine. But besides that, the reason why I love my profession, which is enterprise software sales, is I like talking to organizations about their business initiatives, their business problems, their business goals, and seeing how our technology can help them get there. So I have a background in finance and marketing from Macomb School of Business, University of Texas. So it's really like a best of both worlds, where I get to utilize technology, business consultation, and strategy, and do it in a way where I can dictate my own W-2 every year. So that's why I work.
Awesome. And UT grad, are you from Texas, Tulsa? Tell us more about where's home for you.
Yeah, so I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. I moved to San Antonio when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and that's where I pretty much grew up. Graduated from high school in San Antonio, go Spurs go, and then got into the University of Texas at Austin, Texas Longhorns, hook 'em, and got into business school my sophomore year, and then graduated with a major in finance, minor in marketing. When I was there back in 2002 to 2006, that's when Vince Young was tearing it up. We won back-to-back Rose Bowls. We won the national championship my senior year. And that was very helpful because a ton of companies came to our campus to recruit, mainly because they saw the Rose Bowl game. Like my interviews were talking about, Vince Young and, how we won the championship. So it was a real blessing to be at the school at that time. That's where I grew up. And then I moved to New York City straight out of college for my first role at IBM. And I was basically there for like 15 years. So, Texas raised me, New York City made me.
And so what was that transition? Sometimes people think of, transitioning from Texas, Louisiana to New York. Was it something where you knew, based on how I grew up, I'm going to succeed as soon as I step foot in this role in this new city?
I visited my senior year. They had like the, I guess they called business school field trip. And so I paid to go to New York, and we visited Bear Stearns, Bloomberg, Ernst & Young, and one other company. But my mentor, who was a family friend, he was a VP at HBO. So he took me up in his office. He showed me around the city, and I was just in love with like the fast-paced aspect of New York, the culture, the history, growing up watching Saturday Night Live and all the movies. And then my freshman year of college, I saw the first season of The Apprentice. I had no idea Donald Trump was going to become who he has become, but at the time I really admired, his grit, his ability to sell, and the fact that he built a huge empire. And I just loved that show. I loved the boardrooms, the buildings, how they dressed, the fast-paced aspect of it, the competition. And so when I visited after watching that show and like loving that show, I was like, you know what, I gotta move here. And then it was funny, I interviewed for roles, a lot of the roles were based in Texas. So I just told people I'm trying to move to New York City. And so IBM, they were like, yeah, we'll fly out to New York. You won't get the role because you're not an MBA hire. You don't have work experience, but we'll fly you out there because we like you. And it's good for the management just to know like that you exist and have you in the records. I'm like, cool, I'll take a free flight to New York City, whatever. And I asked my mentor, I was like, yo, they say I can't get the job, but what do you think I should do? He was like, well, just ask for the job at the end. Don't blink, don't say nothing. If you left an impression, they'll say, you know what, this guy has some cojones, he asked for the job, let's give it to him. So I got flown first class, got in a black car, so I'm feeling good. I'm like 22 years old. They pull me up to the building where I'm going to interview. It's the same door that they walk out of when they get fired from The Apprentice. So I was like, dang, this is like a sign. Like, I got to get this job. So I was super prepared, went in, killed the interview. And at the end, I just said, look, I know I'm only 22 years old. I have no work experience, at least corporate work experience. I don't have an MBA, but based off of the work I did during college, based off of how passionate I am about the business problems you solve, based off the fact that I will work harder than anybody that you will get from any MBA, any whatever, can have the job. And I just stared at them and didn't say nothing. And they were like, well, we are having to interview more people, you saw in the hallway, so we can't just give you the job. But the fact that you asked for the job now shows me that if you got in front of the CEO of Walgreens, you would ask for the order without flinching. So I appreciate that. We'll be in touch. And then the recruiter hit me up and he's like, I don't know how you did it, but apparently you asked for the job. And because of that, they gave it to you. I skipped all the steps of tech sales, of like SDR, inside sales, mid-level sales, whatever. I went straight to enterprise at 23 years old. And they got me at a great bargain. They didn't pay me anything for moving to New York City, but I was just happy for the opportunity. And then, I did what I said I was going to do. I worked harder than everybody, hit President's Club, and the rest was history.
Wow. Appreciate you mentioning that, Jarrett. It's like not a lot of people have those opportunities presented to them and then be able to, let alone capitalize on those opportunities when giving the opportunity to like do what you said you were going to do, right? Can you tell us about your mindset when you were, 22, and what does that look like for somebody in this day and age who, may be trying to follow in your footsteps and doing the same things? What would you kind of tell them to do, knowing what the world looks like now and how, corporate has changed? What would you say to somebody like your past self in today's world?
Yeah, so I think the reason why I had success like getting into IBM is because my internship experience spoke to the job that I was going after, which is intense sales. And so I actually did door-to-door sales during college. So like I don't necessarily talk about my path into tech sales in a way that I feel like is transferable to everybody. So I usually tell people the usual route is like, get that SDR role and do the traditional things. But for me, I really just wanted to I heard some kids were making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in the summer selling books door to door. So like, I just had a lot of confidence about if somebody else can do it, why can't I? But what I would say to anybody else, if you do have that confidence, and that's the first thing, is just like really believing in yourself. And if you don't naturally believe in yourself, read different autobiographies, get a life coach, something, right? Get a mentor, just somebody to like pour into you and show you like, hey, you can do it. Luckily, my parents gave me that, so I didn't really need much besides, just give me an opportunity, same as anybody else, and let me do what I do. But when I did sell books door to door, you just have to have mental toughness. So that's what I'll say. It's just like, have mental toughness, expect to fail. One thing that helped me when I was selling books door to door is they brainwashed us with these mantras of positive thinking. And I don't think I would be where I am today without it. So things like do your best, let God take care of the rest. Every no is the next step to a yes. What are some of the other ones? You either do or you don't, there is no try. Like there's just different mantras that help me understand, like, I'm going to get told no 1,000,000 times. I'm going to mess up 1,000 times. I'm going to look stupid 1,000,000 times, but it's not about that. It's about what did I learn from that experience? How do I get better from that experience? And then not giving up and keep going. Failure is on the path to success. So once you realize that, you don't get scared of it. You embrace it, you kind of run towards it because once you get past it, you're getting towards success. So just mindset wise, that's the mindset that I was, kind of brainwashed into. And that's the mindset that's helped me in my career. And then when it comes to like just this competitive field, the fact that I had 3 summers of some sales internships where I was, top producer and paid for college and all that kind of stuff, it separated me from everyone else. So when you're in college or when you're creating your career, think about how can I be consistent towards the goal? And I guess the first step, just to back up from that, is figure out the goal first. Figure out what is the end point, because you can't really get to the end point without knowing where it is. Because if you're just like sailing through the ocean, you're going to be going all over the place if you have no endpoint. You have an endpoint, you are getting to that destination because your compass is focused right on it. So for me, I knew I wanted to do something like B2B sales. I didn't know it was tech, but I just knew I wanted to do B2B sales. Once I got a taste of making a nice check and saying like, dope, I can actually make a check just by asking questions, identifying problems and solving problems. Cool, that's what I'm going to do. I got lucky that IBM, gave me the role, because if they didn't, I would have been selling insurance for Progressive and I wouldn't be, in the tech space necessarily. But the fact that I knew I wanted to do B2B sales, I only interviewed for B2B sales at 3 summers of really strong numbers for B2B sales, and I could talk that talk, that made me successful. So if you have, in this job market, once you figure out you're going to be a software engineer, when you go apply for roles, go to the minimum requirements and figure out what are the certifications that you're seeing all the time. What are the skills that they're asking for all the time? What are the languages they're asking you to code all the time? And then get deep into all of those things so that when you show up, it's unquestionable you have the skill set for it. And then when you get into the role, this is the biggest thing I tell people, because people get all caught up in the money and the cloud of being in tech. I'm just like, look, when you get there, you gotta be the best at what you do, and you gotta be super passionate about it, and you gotta document everything you do, because people aren't gonna notice how hard you're working or how well you're doing. You gotta make sure that everybody's reminded of this. And if you can, be that person for your teammates. So, and I'll shorten my answers, but I have a lot on my mind when it comes to that question. But like when it comes to my teammates, right? It would take me like 3 to 6 to 9 months to close some of these deals that were really big, like $500,000, $250,000, whatever the case is. So at the end of it, when I get the deal, everybody wants to like really congratulate and celebrate me as if I did it by myself. And what I would do is I would write this long email response, like thanking every single person that helped. The SDR that got me the meeting, the sales engineer that did the demo, the lawyer that negotiated the contract, the security team that helped get past the security evaluation, my manager for, being bad cop with the negotiation. I just went through everybody and I made sure I gave everybody their flowers. So they didn't have to document it themselves. I did it on their behalf and I spreaded the love and the wealth. So I would say not only be the best at what you do and get results and hit numbers and be undeniably effective and productive at your company, but also give props to everybody that helps you get to where you want to be. Because when I leave a company, if I hit up any of those people that I listed off in my thank you notes, and I said, hey, is your company hiring? Shoot, if they're not, I need to make sure you get the job because you always made me look good. You always have my back and I appreciate you. Always leave an impression, positive impression everywhere you go. Document everything you do, give everybody props, and stay in touch with everybody via LinkedIn and be proactive with value. The biggest thing I see people mess up with right now is they're constantly looking to take from people. How can I take this from somebody? How can I take that from somebody? In terms of information, advice, connections, they're never thinking about how can this be an exchange of value? How can I proactively figure out what that person needs so that I can give that to them, and in exchange, they can give me some advice, some information, a referral connection, right? So it's be really good at what you do, but also be very value focused in everywhere you go. Because once you have that reputation, you really don't have to apply for jobs anymore. You're constantly having former teammates say, hey, are you in the market? There's an open sales role, we'd love to have you. And now I'm just being walked in by somebody that is super, successful and capable based off of my knowledge of them. And I'm walking in and now I'm being preferred over hundreds of people that are applying cold. That's the key, is relationships. How do you get the relationships? By under-promising, over-delivering, being value-focused on every interaction that you have, and really worry about getting these results. Don't just be there trying to toggle the mic so it looks like you're working while you're sitting by the pool. It looks great on TikTok, but they're not TikToking about how they got laid off. You know what I'm saying? Put that work in.
That's a well-said. Michael.
Yeah, so this step right here, every step that you've taken has gotten you to this point, VP of Strategy at, I want to pronounce this company correctly, RightC. Tell us a little bit more about this organization and what do you do there? Yeah,
so we are a pre-seed startup, raised $2.5 million. Pre-seed, we're raising another $3 million. Seed, that should be done soon. And, we are Black founders. I didn't found the company personally, but I got brought in really early. But Black founders, we're basically building out an AI career mobility suite that can help job seekers with the end-to-end job search process, from resumes, cover letters, interview prep, salary negotiation, tracking of contacts, tracking of jobs, LinkedIn optimization, etc. And we partner with Meta, so we use their open source AI. My CEO is featured on a commercial and a national advertising campaign that's all over Hulu. And it's all over bus stops and billboards. So that's really getting us a lot of attention. We work with top higher education institutions, workforce development, as well as we sell to, individuals as well as a B2C platform called JobSearchGenius.ai. And, our goal really is to help organizations get job seekers into positions quickly. And also have all the data around, the process to get that got them hired and who they're getting hired with and all of that kind of stuff. So my role is basically business development partnerships, bringing in new schools, getting them signed up, making them successful, getting feedback around how the product could be better for them as a staff, for their students, how we can integrate with other platforms they're currently using to make the process seamless and also enhance the value that they get in the products that they've already invested in. And it's been great. I moved out to Tulsa for a year, Black Wall Street, we're basically rebuilding Black Wall Street via tech companies, and Tinto Capital, shout out to them, basically gave us some money to move our headquarters there. The role is very, fast paced. I'm traveling all the time. I was just where was I last week? Where was I? I was in Vegas for one conference, and then I was in Atlanta for another. And then where was I last? Where did I fly in?
You're just in
You
Baltimore.
went so many places that you
I
don't
was in
even.
DC. Yeah, I was in DC. I was just in DC for Baltimore for Baya. Went to DC for a birthday party, and then flew in from Baltimore. Came home to Houston real quick to grab some things, and then tomorrow I'm headed to Philadelphia for another conference. And then after that, I'll be in Atlanta for meetings with some schools. So it's been crazy, but it's been good. I've been doing a ton of travel for most of my career when it comes to sales, and that's just an important part of the job. Is really like pressing flesh and meeting people, and building that in-person rapport. And these conferences I could try to do 5 meetings in a day, or I can meet 50 people in a day at a conference. So it's all about that.
That's where I saw you at Afrotech too, just at one of the Twitch influencer meetups.
Exactly.
You gotta let us know in a couple of days which food's better, Philly or Baltimore, because I think Baltimore takes the cake. I won't even ask you about the DC food because Baltimore does it right.
Baltimore's great with seafood. I would say Philadelphia is great with, a lot of other stuff. But when it comes to seafood and crab, ain't nothing touching Baltimore for sure.
For sure. So I want to just wrap it up here. Around that, we have a lot more to talk about, definitely. When you think of, the next generation of workforce, I think it's fair to say you are probably one of the first, second, or third VPs hired at this startup. What do you feel like is your day-to-day, and how do you feel like that role, VP, at a startup, could be either a blessing or a curse 2-3 years down the line?
Yeah, I don't see it being a curse, honestly. Yeah, I mean, the VP title was more so for me personally to increase my status with the companies that I work with. I cared less about the vanity title. I just want to make money, ultimately, and add value to the customers that I work with. That's how I measure myself. 1, how much revenue am I bringing in the organization? And 2, how much ROI am I bringing to the companies that are bringing us revenue? And as long as I keep giving them ROI, then they're going to keep talking about us in rooms that we're not in. That's going to make my job easier to get more revenue. And that's going to increase our valuation so that, one day we get acquired for $1 billion. That's generational wealth. Because I could work for, Microsoft, Google, IBM, whoever, right? But will I have the equity that will turn into potentially generational wealth? Nah, not at this point. I have to find the next IBMs, the next Googles, etc. And so, my first year, I was just enterprise account executive, just showing I can actually build out a territory and do what I do. But the VP of strategy was just look, if I really want to get respect from the deans and the provosts and the presidents, they don't want to talk to an enterprise account executive, especially in higher education. They get the ick as soon as they think you're sales. So I needed a different title that really spoke to my mindset towards the role, which is let's talk strategy. What do you care about? Is it rankings? Is it enrollment? Is it career outcomes? Is it employee relations? What do you care about? How can we drive success towards those initiatives via our technology? And can you be a sounding board for us to make the product better? It's easier to have those conversations with the VP of strategy title than, a salesperson title. It's a blessing because it definitely increases my status and it helps me get into doors quicker. And it also decreases their resistance to me when it's a VP of strategy. And they also feel okay, VP of strategy, I can learn something from him, even if I don't buy something, versus a sales title, which is oh my God, he's going to try to sell me. Oh, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much what that is. And, as long as it's getting me in the doors to have real quality conversations, that's all that matters to me. In terms of the status of it to other people, it doesn't really matter to me, honestly.
Definitely. The reason why I ask that is because I'm sure you and I we've seen it countless in the startup space. Someone that has never been in a startup space, or someone that gets that new role, VP of blank, engineering, sales, strategy, BD, it's almost now they rest on their laurels of, okay, I got here, I can chill. You spoke about equity in the startup, 5 sentences after you talked about how that enables you to get the work done. It's important for those people, because it can be people turning 25, turning 30 that have that, plethora of experience. And when they join a company, they don't think about what they're actually doing versus the role. And like you said, the glitz and glam that comes with it. So thank you for, educating and enlightening a lot of people on what it means to be, VP of strategy as you're building something, especially from a business development and relationship building standpoint.
Yeah, VP title, you could rest on your laurels when making $500,000 a year in salary, right? That's not the case with this company. We have to think about constantly reinvesting the money that we make to build out the platform, build out the team. As an equity holder, I'd rather us, continue to increase our valuation versus, let me suck up all the profit with a salary because I have a new title. We're all making sacrifices in the short term to make sure that we can really grow faster in the short term so that we can have a higher valuation, a higher equity, better equity event in the long term, because salary's cool, but equity is where it's at. And I learned that early in my career. After leaving IBM, I've been working for startups primarily. And just recently, one of the startups I used to work for back in 2018, 2020, they got acquired by SAP for $1.5 billion. So the shares that I accumulated out of nowhere were worth $14 a share. I still need to go do the paperwork to get that money. I keep forgetting, but I'm going to do that soon. And, those are the type of things that matters. And the salary was great. I made a lot of money. It was a great company to be at. But the reason why I work for them versus working for a larger company is the equity. You never know when it's going to hit. And when it hits, it's a blessing.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that, Jarrett. This is a great segue into our next segment. So we're going to wrap it here. This has been a great episode of Why Y'all Working. I'm one of your hosts, J.
I'm Michael Ogusanya.
And Jarrett, thank you again for joining us today. Appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.
Later.